Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 53 units of real estate. So I want to talk about my evolution as a real estate investor now that I've been investing for about 7 to 8 years now. So I bought my first property in 2017. It was a house hack property. And my mindset back then was just to get a house that was going to be my forever house. So I put 10% down. I lived in it, and I was only 27 years old, and I was just like, well, I don't have a family yet, I don't have kids yet, I didn't have a girlfriend yet, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just live in the master, and then rent out the 3 other bedrooms to help cover my cost of my mortgage, to save money, and eventually, I will, move them out, and then live there with my kids and my family. So that was my initial intent with that first house, and I think that's a very normal mindset when it comes to buying real estate, is just to buy something for yourself, because I don't want to live at home anymore, and I didn't mind having roommates at the time. So I was like, okay, well, if I can save money on my mortgage and reduce my living expense, I can save more money, I can invest more money, and I can basically buy another one or just invest more money. I wasn't really thinking that hard about it. And after I bought my first property, I felt very poor, as everyone does. And I just said, okay, this is cool. And end up getting a second job somewhere else, or another job somewhere else that paid a bit more, and became a pharmacy director. So I had to move to San Francisco. And I just thought, well, I prefer not to pay rent. And I saved up another 10% down. I just said, okay, well, I just can buy another house here. And, thought the idea of having a house in San Francisco was cool. So I just thought same thing. Hey, 10% down, live in the master. It was a duplex. Could rent out the other bedrooms to subsidize my costs. And now I have 2 options. If I decide to settle down and, live in more, I have an option there. I have a house there. And if I want to decide to live in San Francisco, I have a house there. So, once again, didn't really think about really building an empire. And I just rented out my last property, that I used to house hack. So, became an accidental landlord at that point. And, once again, I didn't really think too much about it. I was just kind of like, okay, well, I have my house that I first lived in. It's rented out now. I have the house that I'm living in, which is a duplex, and I rented out, 1 unit to 4 college students, and the other unit that I was living in, I was renting out to, the other rooms to some newly graduated students who are now working. And once again, I just thought, well, hey, like if I have a girlfriend or have kids and a family, like I just can live in the upper unit and then rent out the lower unit, and same situation, right? So it was just options for me and a place to live, because I just thought I need a place to live. And at that time, I didn't really think renting was financially smart, but obviously, as I gain more wisdom, renting does make sense if you're being somewhere in a more transient fashion, which I was, but I didn't know any better, right? So I just thought renting was bad, and I needed a place to live. So after living there for 2 years, I, wanted to chase my current wife, Christine. It's the K-drama inside of me, the K-pop, or not K-pop, K-drama inside of me, love story, where I wanted to chase a girl. And I just thought to myself, okay, let me move to Southern California. And by moving to Southern California, it kind of opened up my horizon. So I was actually renting. So this is the first time I rented in a while, because I wanted privacy, because I was trying to chase a girl. And, I was over living with roommates. I was 30 at the time. I paid my dues. I got 2 properties now that are rented out to long-term tenants, and I'm living now in Southern California renting. And just moving to Southern California and being like 400 miles away from my rentals unlocked something within me, right? Because I always thought you need to be able to buy in your backyard, invest in your backyard, because I need to drive there to do it, right? Like if something goes wrong, I can drive there, I can show the property out, I can manage the property, I can fix the property, I can coordinate things. But by moving to Southern California and being 400 miles away, that wasn't logistically possible. So that opened my mindset a little bit to be like, maybe I can invest at a long distance. Because all I knew was to invest in your backyard. And obviously my backyard is California and it's expensive. So I was fortunate that I had a high income W-2 as a pharmacist, that I had a high savings rate because I'm frugal and I can live at home to save money for a period. And that's how I was able to buy my first house, my first two. But my mindset was just buying within a 30-mile radius of where I lived was my mindset. But by moving to Southern California, being 400 miles away, I was still able to coordinate managing my properties. Like, if I need something be fixed, I just call the handyman. It's only difficult if I need to rent out the property to a new tenant and show the property, in which case I have to leverage my dad, or I could pay a leasing agent to just lease it out and then pay them a fee, right? If it's that inconvenient. But my dad just opened the door, show the tenants the property, and I would, before they even saw the property, I would pre-screen on the phone, all this stuff, right? So basically, moving to Southern California, 400 miles away, it taught me like, I could buy real estate at a distance. So what I did was I bought a property, had the intent of, I bought a single family home in Orange County, which I still own. So it gives me the option to be in Orange County if I want to leave LA. It's in Lake Forest, which is near Irvine and Mission Viejo. But I bought that with the intent of actually living in it and building an ADU in the backyard. I can still do that, but my intent was to live in it, live in the master, rent out the bedrooms, and build an ADU in the backyard. And then once that ADU is done, I probably would have built like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, something like that. I think about 1,000 square foot. My intent was to move into the ADU, so I'd have like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, nice place, and then I'd rent out the front house to get some income. That was my intent. But I got laid off from my job and decided not to move forward with the ADU because the financing wasn't that attractive. I basically had to finance the ADU myself, which is $250K, or do a cash out refinance. So decided it wasn't for me, and I got laid off at that time too. But in that window, I was just like, I can invest out of state at a long distance because I'm managing my rentals in the Bay Area from Southern California, 400 miles away. So that's when I discovered Huntsville, Alabama. And I just thought, wow, this market, I can buy a new construction for $250K, and it could rent out for $2,000, and it would cash flow. It's crazy. Like, to me, the thought of buying a house for $250K was insane because in California, like, $250K doesn't even get you a condo, especially in San Francisco. So I got my first out-of-state property, sight unseen. Never been to Huntsville, Alabama. Still haven't been to Huntsville, Alabama. Never seen the property. Got a property manager, and it's rented out. I was just like, this blew my mind. Like, wow, I could buy real estate at an even longer distance, and it almost becomes like a game. Like, when I bought that property, it was just like literally, I signed one contract. D.R. Horton accepted the contract, and I was like, I now own a property. Like, I was literally standing in line in a taco truck, and I got the deal under contract. And I was like, that was easy. So once I went into single family out of state, I just said, okay, like I went from investing in my backyard to being okay with investing at a long distance of 400 miles away, to then buying in a different state that I've never been in. And like I said, opened my mindset. And then at that point, I joined a multifamily mentorship program. And that's when because I said, you know what? I want to buy out of state because it's cheap. And I want to scale. And I want cash flow. So to me, multifamily made the most sense. Because I can get a 26-unit apartment complex. And it's all in one building, one roof, one insurance policy, one loan. and I have 26 units, and it's how you scale, right? You have economies of scale. If you raise rents of $50 on 20 units, you increase the rents by $1,000 versus a single family home. You raise the rents by 200, you only get 200. So I just thought economies of scale, right? So I bought the apartment complex in Oklahoma because I'm okay going out of state, in a different state I've never been in. And I wanted to do multifamily for the first time. So I got my first 26 unit for $500,000. And in this time, this is my first renovation because all my other properties I bought were turnkey. I did nothing. So this is the first time I'm doing an apartment, my first apartment, and my first massive renovation. So I came in there, renovated all 26 units, new roof, doing this remotely. Been to Oklahoma City one time. So that kind of taught me a new skill set. So I just thought, this wasn't that bad. So I just thought, okay, let me scale this even further. So I bought a 200 lot mobile home park in Selma, Alabama, because I thought it was cool. Shiny object syndrome. Fast forward, ended up selling it for a loss of $100,000. But I just thought, okay, I want to scale this because it's a 200 lot mobile home park. When I bought it, there's only like maybe 30 homes in there. So I just thought, hey, I'm going to buy this mobile home park. I'm going to fill it up to 200 mobile homes. And this is how I'm going to scale massively. This will be my golden goose, right? But, it turns out the area was bad. Property management was bad. Property manager stealing from me. And the outside property managers were basically bad at their job and probably crooks, stealing from me too. So sold that for a lost money. And then I just said, well, I bought another 20 unit in Oklahoma, probably an hour and a half away from my one in Oklahoma City, because I thought diversification was cool, right? You don't want to be everything in one market. But scaled to 90 units at one point when I had my mobile home park, and today I'm sitting at around 53 units of real estate. But now I kind of reflect on my journey and just thought, wow, like I was so fixated on unit count in the scale journey. Like I was so fixated on 100 units, and I would have gotten there if my mobile home park panned out, and I could have added 10 units to that mobile home park easily, and I probably would have got to 100 units. And like I said, that's a 200 lot mobile home park. So if I fill up that whole mobile home park, just that mobile home park would be 200 units by itself, combined with my other apartments. So if that panned out, I would have had probably 250 units at this point, at 35. But it didn't pan out. So, to me, I just thought like, wow, like I was so fixated on unit count because I just thought more units, more cash flow, more money, more financial freedom, bigger net worth, and bigger economies of scale. And don't get me wrong, if my mobile park did hit, I bought for $1 million, I thought after I filled up that whole park with 200 units, it would be worth about $5 to $6 million. So I would have 5x'd my equity. And if you can imagine 200 units times $500 a unit in rent, that's $100,000 a month in revenue. That's gross, not net. But if I never cashed out or refinanced the property, I would think net would be at least 20-30K after all my expenses. So that was like, that's one property is what I needed to be financially free and to retire. So that's what the appeal of that property. But it didn't pan out, right? So then now I have 53 units a day. So from that moment, like you said, if you listen to all the podcasts, Bigger Pockets, you have investors who scale to 1,000 units in 1 year, 500 units in 2 years. You just hear these big numbers, fancy headlines, and that's what I thought I had to do. More units, more money, right? You listen to Grant Cardone, 10x, right? You listen to Robert Kiyosaki, leverage, $400 million in debt, right? So that's all I know, and that's an easy trap to fall into, and I fell into that trap. But now that I own 53 units for going on 7-8 years now, I've gained wisdom, I've gained clarity, and I want to share that with you guys. So for me, it's not about the number anymore. I'd rather have, like, if I had 53 units that were a headache, I'd rather own 30 units that are like not a headache, and maybe some of it's paid off, right? So it starts to become not about the unit count, but it starts to become, okay, which properties make the most sense to own? Because once you own enough real estate, there's always one or two properties that you own that you know that you'd be okay selling for the right price. So for me, out of my 2 apartments, my 20 unit would probably be the one I would sell, because it's not doing as well as my 26 unit. So I could sell my 20 unit, use that equity to pay off my 26 unit, own it free and clear. Out of my single family home portfolio, it's probably gonna be me selling my first 2 single family homes I bought, my one in Livermore, my one in San Francisco. My San Francisco one, it's just kind of harder to manage. Obviously San Francisco is a good market, during the good times when the tech is doing well. Real estate does well. If tech is doing bad, like right now, then houses do bad. But, it's a duplex, it's an older house, it's over 100 years old. There's always plumbing issues, so it's just more of a logistical headache, long term, and it's further away from other homes in the Bay Area. So that would make sense to sell that one for the right price, and then use that to, pay off some of my other properties, or I could 1031 exchange that into another apartment. For my Livermore home, it's a great property, great tenants, but it has so much equity built in there. So if I want to, pay off my property that I'm living in, my primary, it's a property I need to pay off. So as you can kind of see, I went from buying a home just to have a home that I'm house hacking to I want to scale. So I'd buy whatever property that I was in my price point, and I was buying in different areas, right? I bought one in Oklahoma City, I bought one in Selma, Alabama, I bought one in Enid, Oklahoma. I was going all over the place. I was distracted. And after getting burned by my one in Selma, I decided to realize that, hey, you know what? It's nice to just have like a cluster of properties in the same area, right? So owning multiple apartments in Oklahoma City, owning multiple single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, it just makes life a little easier. It's a lot simpler. So then I got to like that point. And then the next iteration I'm going through is like, well, maybe I want to start pruning the properties that don't make sense and repivoting my assets, my chess pieces in a way that fits my lifestyle. And for me, I'm all about financial freedom, and I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. So I don't want to be stressed out about my real estate portfolio. So to do that, I could, get rid of some properties that don't perform well, 1031 exchange that into properties that are easier, like newer construction, for example. Or I can sell a property, pay taxes, and then use that to take debt off the table and own properties free and clear now. So those are the moves I'm kind of making right now. Like I'm trying to buy new construction in Huntsville, Alabama. I just bought one last month. Hoping to buy a few more once I do my cash out refinance, because I want properties that are newer, less stress, better tenants, in an area where it's posed for growth, and simplifying my portfolio, right? Like if I were to sell my 20 unit and use that to pay off my 26 unit, now I don't have to deal with a balloon payment every 10 years. That's commercial real estate. Or I could use that 1031 exchange that into another apartment complex in Oklahoma City and just have one property manager that manages 2 of my apartment complexes. So it becomes more simple in terms of management for me. So it's this period of like reassessing and like, how do I want to pivot? How do I want my portfolio to look? Right? So that's kind of like the name of the game. And that's the maturity that I'm having as a real estate investor, right? So that's as I said, that's really the next iteration of that. So it's just really like, you don't know this until you learn it, right? So it's kind of funny, like, and so right now I'm focused on like stabilizing and simplifying my portfolio, so that might require me selling some properties, pay taxes, pay off other properties, selling properties that maybe I don't like, 1031 exchange into properties I do like. So those are my 2 routes I'm going to go. And then once I let's say I do a combination of both, where maybe I sell a property, take some debt at the table, pay off some properties, sell another property that I don't like, 1031 exchange into something I do like. At that point, I can then reassess, okay, do I want to continue to scale again? And then leverage again, like enter the next season of scale. So it's kind of interesting, like you go through different phases and seasons as a real estate investor, and your priorities change. So like I said, I just went from wanting a house, got a house, went to wanting to scale to 100, scale to almost 100, realized that this was terrible. Sold some properties down to 53 units, and now I'm like looking at like, okay, do I want to sell it? Like maybe if I sell, if I literally sell 2 properties and drop down to 51 units from 53, I can own my primary residence free and clear and 1 apartment complex free and clear. So now I would own like 51 units, of which 27 out of the 51 would be owned free and clear. And that's where it becomes powerful, right? Like more than half my units are owned free and clear. And at that point, I can then re-lever back up to go buy more real estate if there's another like good timing, a good market. So I just want to share that like when you go in real estate, like you're having different phases and different priorities, and it's okay to change, right? It's okay to reassess, it's okay to change. And that's the key message. Sorry, my eye is irritated. So it's okay to change it, but the key is you want to pause and you want to self-reflect and reassess based on your situation. So right now I'm in a situation of pausing. I'm in a situation of reassessment. So anyways, hopefully you found value from this video. Kind of a longer video. I apologize for that as I'm driving here. And hopefully it gives you some clarity as to what to expect as you go into your real estate journey, because you might be in a different phase than I am right now, right? So that's why you want to learn from people who are ahead of you in the game. And I'm still learning from people who are ahead of me in the game, right? Where like, they stabilized and now they're just starting to scale again. After maybe like I said, I can own 27 units out of 51 free and clear. And maybe I sell my 20 unit or sell another property. So now I'm down to 50 units and now my 20 units own free and clear. So now most of my units are out of 50. Maybe I own 43 free and clear. And at that point, I could make massive more cash flow and then re-lever back up, right? So it's a different season. Or I could say, you know what? I'm good. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy. So this is the long-term game of playing real estate. So anyways, let me know what questions you have. Hopefully you found some value. Please, post what clarity you gained from this video. If you want to join my school community on a free trial, if you want coaching, mentorship, join my newsletter for free. You want to send me an email, click on my link tree down below. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.